They might be attractive, they might get girls, but a lot of guys are quite like weak, feminine, submissive, docile, you know, like the kind of guys who would never even call a girl out if she does something wrong. And I have some more extremely controversial advice, but this is what worked for me. I kind of think that a certain amount of guys need to just transition from being a nice guy, you know, overly nice, to actually going through a phase of being overly hostile and hateful towards women to eventually get closer to being like Adonis. Some guys can avoid that sort of hating women phase and they can just go from being like a nice guy, you know, who's overly nice and everything, to just acting more like Adonis, being like a gentleman who's warm but also respects himself. Some guys can escape this middle period, but some guys have to go through a period from being nice to then being kind of like negative towards women. And I honestly had to do this. This is probably stuff you've never heard of before, someone openly admitting this, but I had to go through a phase of almost like hating women, and you're thinking kind of negative thoughts like, yeah, that stupid bitch, and yeah, these bitches are so stupid, you know, all this kind of negative thought, which is so toxic, man. But I had to go through that to get to where I am now. I had to. This is what the modern world really doesn't want you to experience. But the thing is, if you've been sold this lie that you should be this nice little good boy and you've fallen for this lie, you need to go through some level of like aggression to get pissed off at the world and pissed off at women for like thinking that you've fallen for this lie. And of course, don't do that in some kind of like violent way. Don't do that in a way that will insult or disrespect anyone. But you might find some progress in almost turning on your male aggression and having a sense of hatred against the world and sometimes against women, to think like, yeah, like I've been sold this lie. Like women aren't even that great anyway. I've put them on such a high pedestal. They're not even that special. They're just human beings. And you almost have like this energy of hatred that eventually leaves you because you're finally acting like a fucking man with anger and aggression, which is normal for men. And then it's almost like you're left with nothing but like just positive feelings about women. Some guys need to go through that transition, and I did. That being said, that I want to remind you to put in so much intention to make sure that you don't get stuck in either of these sections. Don't get stuck just being nice for no reasons, especially to women who don't deserve it. And don't get stuck in this sort of like hateful phase where you kind of hate the world for lying to you, because so many guys, especially the guys that you see on YouTube, are stuck here. And they are lesser men. Transition as fast as you can over to where Adonis is, where you begin to just see women for what they are. People. You take women off this pedestal which you've put them on, and you realize that, you know, if a girl does something to piss you off, you'll respond in the exact same way that you would if a guy did. You'd respond to a girl that you're dating if she turned up late to a date in the same way that you would if your male friend did. You'd show a girl with a certain kind of characteristics and hobbies and traits the same level of interest that you would in a guy. And this is a very interesting transition because you start to realize like how much you've put women in a pedestal, and that's why you've been so nice, because you value like girls so highly, and then one day you kind of click and you're like, wait, the girl I'm interested in is a loser. I wouldn't be friends with a guy if he was like that. Like all she does is just scroll on TikTok. That's repulsive. Why am I being so nice to her? Why am I like paying for shit? Like she's not a nice girl to be around. She's not even like polite or anything. You need to stop giving points of admiration to someone who's a low quality person and start to respect yourself enough to think that you don't need to present this like fake, positive, you know, really happy, nice attitude to people who don't really deserve it. Most importantly, you need permission for this, because if you had like a strong masculine father figure, you would have seen him and imitated the way that he navigated his relationship with your loving feminine mother. But the majority of us haven't had that kind of parental dynamic that we've been able to observe. So we've never really been able to learn about the correct sort of relationship dynamic. And it's such a shame that you didn't get to benefit from that, because if you did see like a positively loving, strong, masculine father figure, you would have seen him respect himself and not be overly nice to people who didn't deserve that. What you see before you is an absolutely massive movement of young men who are taking self-improvement seriously. We didn't start off in the best place with the best parents or the best genetics, but we're doing the best that we can with the things that we can improve in our lives, and our relationships with women is a big part of that. You can join this movement of men who are relentlessly improving themselves, and we'll be happy to have you. Scroll down right now and click on the subscribe button, and also click and watch this video right now. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it.